Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective, going to 5,000 subscribers September 7th. And today, honestly, Saturday, very sad day, devastating news. The passing of Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker, age 55, tragically in a car crash where he was actually hit. He was the pedestrian crossing the street and was hit and killed. 55 years old, very sad, actually younger than my father. And, coming up, I think I've told this story to many of you who are boxing fans many times. My father coming to this country from Cameroon, getting into a little bit of the amateur boxing circuit. And one of the guys he talked about constantly, who was one of the great amateur fighters in the early 80s, was Pernell Whitaker. And he went on to win a gold medal in 1984, one of the storied Olympic teams back when the United States really was invested and had great ties into their boxing program. Pernell Whitaker was the face of that and was really somebody who went on to have a great pro career. I believe he was a four-time world champion in 4 different weight classes. One of the greatest defensive fighters of all time. At one point, his career was 40-1. I would say had the controversial draw with Julio Cesar Chavez, and probably his most, the fight he's most well known for, fighting in San Antonio, fighting Chavez. I believe he was 87-0 or something ridiculous at the time, and dominated the fight. Go back and watch that fight. The beauty of it being my age and that was the era before when I really understood boxing. I really didn't see Whitaker fight any fights real time other than maybe De La Hoya, but I don't know if I was even old enough to truly understand what I was watching. I was more of the latter De La Hoya, Trinidad, Shane Mosley era where I really was able to understand how to score a bout. But with the beauty of technology and the beauty of my father being a hardcore boxing fan and recording all these fights on VHS, Pernell Whitaker was a guy he always used to show me how to score fights and understand the technical side of things, understanding footwork first, hit and not get hit. And something that a guy like a Floyd Mayweather ultimately went on to take to another level and master in his career. That's something that Pernell Whitaker was at that same type of talent level. Now, do I think he had the hands that Floyd had? I think that's kind of what separated those two on top of their records. And obviously Floyd defeating the most world champions of all time. But Pernell Whitaker, unbelievable talent, set the blueprint for all the great welterweights that came in that division after him and even after Chavez. And we have to do a better job. Folks my age, I'm 30 years old, but folks my age and younger, and this goes across the board for any sport, we have to do a better job of putting respect on folks' names from different generations. This notion in sports, yes, to some degree things are bigger, faster, stronger, better, but that's also science and sports nutrition and all that type of stuff. But we always kind of sweep aside those who came before us. And when you go back and look at just watching these fights and the sheer talent level, these are generational talents. And Pernell Whitaker was a generational talent from the amateur scene all the way through his career. We talk about Lomachenko, and people talk about Lomachenko like as if he's, better than Sugar Ray Leonard. And he's an outstanding fighter, arguably pound for pound number one in the world. But a lot of the stuff he's doing today, we saw, especially from a defensive standpoint, a footwork standpoint, we saw Pernell Whitaker master that for over a decade as a professional fighter against very tough competition. And not to mention, fighters like himself, as well as Floyd, who were defensive maestros, and you can make a whole highlight tape off of just watching them make other guys miss. What we devalue is their chins. These guys did take shots at times, and Pernell Whitaker did take shots. One of the fights they talk about as well, his 2 fights against Buddy McGirt, who actually went on to train Arturo Gatti and some other fighters who Bernie McGurran ended up having a great career as a trainer, but when he fought him, you know, it would have really hurt Pernell Whitaker at times, but showing the heart of a champion. And just hearing so many people's stories today, refreshing myself as a boxing fan, as well as others in the community, of the impact that he had on our sport and within the boxing community, it's unparalleled in a lot of ways. It really, really is, because Sweet Pea, I mean, even in the black community, really, I mean, when you look at the notoriety he was able to gain just from his humility, but also his fighting style, and going up against some of the toughest Mexican fighters, some of the toughest fighters in the world, and being a dominant fighter for a long, long time. And he will be missed. It's unfortunate what's happened to him. It's so sad to see him go young. I saw on TMZ he was with Floyd at some sort of event where they were signing something in Virginia. Sweet Pea was from the Norfolk, Virginia area, but man, it's just devastating. Huge, huge loss sports-wise. Olympian, father, and one of the great boxers of all time. He will certainly be missed. Rest in peace, Pernell Whitaker.